Okay, welcome everybody to Saturday morning with Kingdom Kids and Munchkins. I'm just going online to our Word of Faith YouTube channel just to check that we're live. So we've got Kingdom Kids and Munchkins, and I'm going on over to the Word of Faith page. So if you're logging on now, just drop us a comment and say hi so that we know that you're there. Okay. Almost there. Okay, I just want to say welcome to everybody who's joining me today from Munchkins. Munchkins is a parenting coaches, so they're going to be telling us more about that in a minute. I've nearly found it. There I am. Oh, it's always so weird looking at yourself on a screen. So we have 8 people watching so far on our Facebook page. Hi, Shona. Lovely to have you watching. If you can tag a few friends and share, that'll be great. Yeah, let's give it another 5 or 10 minutes as people just log on. And we're going to be telling you a bit about competitions that we're running today. We're running 2 competitions. One specifically off of the Word of Faith Facebook page, so you could win a free consultation with a parenting coach of your choice, which will be a really, really great incentive, especially in lockdown when we're not allowed we're ready to kill each other. We love each other, but we're ready to, there aren't any words. So, Andeline, I'd like to just introduce you and say hi and thank you for joining us. And you can tell us more about Munchkins and your team. You can unmute yourself, Andeline, when you're ready to talk. Just unmute yourself.
Right.
There we go. Got it.
It's a privilege for us to be here. We love what we do. Andeline, I'm known as Super Granny. I started Munchkins years ago, and I've got a couple of well-trained, fabulous coaches that you can see on the screen. Not everybody could make it today, but our passion is to help families, and we change family dynamics by empowering the parents. We believe that putting more tools in people's toolbox helps them to be more equipped for situations as they arise. Instead of thinking, I can handle it when it arrives, rather be prepared, because, you know, it's much better to be prepared for something before the time. And like we always say, we go on courses for everything else in life that we want to be good at, but we think parenting is supposed to just come naturally. What's that? You know, giving birth is natural, but hello, how many stories have we got about the different births? And you get prepared by going to classes and it never turns out that way. So parenting, we need help. So why not have a few shortcuts where you can refer to people that have gone down that road and seen a couple of things in their life to help you through this difficult, challenging road of parenting. So I've got a few coaches that have trained up and ready and willing and to help with the families. We've been doing Zoom sessions for a long time already, not just in lockdown. So when we're not in lockdown, we actually go to people's homes and we spend 3 hours with them. But now, thank God for internet and earpods, we can be talking in your ear with the home session, which is actually fun. I don't know if you guys agree, coaches, that it's actually great talking in their ears, because when you're in the house, you've got to kind of say, okay, now do this, now do that. But with the earpods, yeah, tell him to look at you when you're talking to him. Tell him, no, we didn't like his attitude.
And just looking at these mute buttons, I actually think at about 6 o'clock every night, I wish I had a mute button on my children. I could just like, okay, it's enough. You've reached your word limit for the day. Stop!
Well, all you have to do is blacken your screen. In other words, put yourself in timeout.
Brilliant. I'm taking that as the first tip for today. Put yourself in timeout.
Yep, absolutely. We believe in that. So I'll just take a moment to introduce each one. We've got Charmaine. She's in Cape Town. She was originally from PE. Some of you might remember her from PE. And Taman was also from PE. So
PE rocks.
I know, isn't that amazing? Oh, and no, Lene wasn't. So Tim Ann can chat about herself quickly for a moment. Go ahead, Charmaine, unmute yourself.
Charmaine or Tim Ann?
Charmaine first, then we'll do Tim Ann.
Perfect.
Did you unmute?
Hi there, so I'm Charmaine. I'm living in Somerset West in the Cape now, and I just love being part of Munchkins. I've got such a passion for families and just helping them thrive instead of just surviving. I have a 14-year-old, very hard-headed, gorgeous son, and I have a beautiful, feisty 11-year-old daughter. So we also have lots of fun at home, but just using what I've been taught and what we do for other families helps a lot. My own kids say they're the guinea pigs, but they're not too bad, so it works. And that's me.
Good. Tim Ann.
Morning. So I am Tim Ann. My family and I moved to Pretoria a year ago. I'm a mother of 2 boys, 2-year-old and turning 3 in June, and a 6-year-old. And I am pregnant with my 3rd son, over halfway now. And also, I just have such a passion, and I get so excited when I'm able to help other families and just help parents enjoy their children again. I think that to me is so important. So yeah, that's me, and that's my heart.
Tim Ann, do you want to give them your website, your handle as well, Instagram? She's got lovely ideas.
Yes.
For kids, she's very creative with homeschooling with them. So you want to just say what that?
So I homeschool as well, my 6-year-old, and then obviously I have the 2-year-old at home, and I've got a Facebook page called Ellie Feather Toddler Activities, as well as an Instagram page. I'll actually just comment with the details, and then Ilana, you can just add it. And it's got a lot of easy ideas, easy setups to do with things that you have at home for the kids to learn, educational stuff, sensory play, all of that. So yeah, I'll send you the link, and you can just add it onto the comment section.
That'll be great. Next,
Yes, I'm Celeste Rushby. Besides being a parenting coach for the last 9 years, I have a background as an occupational therapist, and I think more importantly, I'm a mother of 3. So my eldest child is 10. And she's a girl, and then I've got boy-girl twins that are 7, and apparently you're going to see some videos of them today from when they're a little bit smaller. So as you can see, all of the Munchkins team, we are all mothers. So it's not just head knowledge, it's heart knowledge too. It's stuff that we have to apply on a daily basis, not just stuff that we've read in books. And we're always helping each other out as well in our own parenting journey, and learning from each other, and constantly growing from our experiences as parenting coaches. And so it's quite a unique situation that we can all, it's not one parenting coach working by themselves. We meet very frequently and learn from each other, and we just love helping parents to love parenting. There's too many parents out there that are dreading coming home from work, and so lockdown is just pure torture for them. And we want parents to really enjoy their children, not just survive their children. And we want kids to have respect for their parents and listen well, but to also feel unconditionally loved, just so cherished, and know that there is nothing that they could say or do that could ever make their parents love them more or less, that they are just so precious in their family.
That's really awesome.
On that note, we at Munchkins, we really believe that we need to give children rules and relationship. We don't do one without the other. We really firmly believe in filling their love tanks is the most important thing, as Celeste was saying. And coupled with that is having age-appropriate guidelines, predictable consequences at different ages, because every rule without a consequence is just a suggestion. So we try to encourage parents to have age-appropriate consequences in a loving, calm manner. That's what we stand for.
Yeah. And Aline, I just want to say thank you so much for having a vision for this, because I feel like there are lots of parents, and I speak for myself, like I said earlier, I am definitely not a parenting expert, and I'm here to learn and to voice those things that so many parents are asking today in lockdown. How do you help a parent who finds themselves shouting in lockdown because they feel like they've reached their wits' end? What would you say to parents who don't want to be the shouters today? How do we be better parents? And I know when we spoke about this session, you spoke about a toolbox, and you were going to help parents with different sort of tools during lockdown. What would you say to parents who don't want to shout anymore?
Helena, the problem we've got with this is that all of us right now want to shout out. Because we're all like, I can help. So I'm going to let Celeste answer. But before she answers, I want to tell you a little funny thing about Celeste with that same question. When Celeste was about 18 years old, she was in one of my sessions listening to, what I was saying. Actually, I don't even think you were 18. I think you were a bit younger. But anyway, so one of the moms in my session, in my seminar that I was giving, asked that question: how do you stop yourself from screaming and getting so angry that you actually want to kill that child? And everybody's like, yes, they all wanted to say that, but didn't want to say it out loud. But they all have these images around the neck or something, but they all put on their Facebook faces, of course, that everything's fine at home. So everybody thinks everybody else is coping, when actually everybody isn't coping, but nobody talks about it. And, I had all my kids in my sessions at different times, and I let them expose me, and I let them be honest. And when this lady asked the question, Celeste raised her hand and said she'll answer the question of how do you stop yourself from getting so angry? And I said, okay, Celeste. And she goes, Prozac. Redeem herself and give the correct answer to this question.
I cannot be held responsible for things I did when I was 16. That is way too long ago. Okay, so you've probably found, Helena, that the first time you give an instruction, that you're pretty calm, right? So you tell your toddler, oh no, baby, don't touch the remote. But then she goes for it, and you go, no, come, let's go play over here. And she goes back for it. You go, just leave the remote, just leave it alone. We're gonna go play. And she pulls past, and you go, just stop it, just leave the remote, right? So the more you repeat your instruction, the more your blood boils, and also the more you tend to repeat your instruction, the more you're actually training your children to ignore you, because you know what, you're probably going to give up anyway. And if you don't give up, well, I only need to really start paying attention when you've said it maybe 4, 5 times and your voice is at this decibel and that vein is popping out your forehead. And until then, like, whatever, let it go. And the problem is that when you get angry at a child, the focus for them shifts off of what they did wrong and shifts onto how you are this big meanie and you're so horrible, and they lose respect for you. But also, when you shout at a child, they will react in one of 3 ways. Either they will withdraw, shut down, block you out. They might even be nodding, but nothing's going in, right? And that's a protective mechanism. Or the second way of reacting is lashing out. So it's either lashing out straight back at you or holding it in and then taking it out on their brother or at the dog or somebody at school. And then the third way of reacting is to use humor. So you don't usually see this in toddlers, but with primary school and especially teenagers, you'll see them make sort of smug comments or laugh at you or whatever, but it doesn't mean it hurts less. It breaks relationship when you shout and express your anger inappropriately like that at your children. So it's not going to get you anywhere. So it's really about not repeating your instruction and keeping that a habit, that you give the instruction once only in a friendly tone of voice. And then you give it, then if they don't do what you've asked them to, then you go to a "you're not listening" serious tone of voice. And if they still don't, you go straight to a consequence. And that from start to finish is like 8 seconds. So there's no room for you to explode. It's the repeating and saying it over and over, and this physical struggle that is what makes you get angry.
Amen.
Sorry, I just wanted to add, there we go. Yeah, great. I mean, 100% behind Celeste and what she said. And but yeah, let's face it, some of you have shouted over the lockdown period and might shout again. And I just feel like integrity is such a good thing to model to our children, because that's where they learn how to apologize. So don't feel bad to go to your child and apologize. You need to actually show them that it's okay to say sorry and be sorry, and you need to model integrity to them as a parent.
Yeah, we all make mistakes, and they need to know that it's normal to mess up, and that an apology is something that feels amazing. It brings connection again. I mean, if you go down to your 5-year-old's eye level and you take her hands and you say, "Baby, I am so sorry I shouted at you," without putting a "but you" after that. Just, "I'm so sorry I shouted at you." That brick wall will just crumble down. Her heart will just melt into a puddle of goo, and she'll dive into your arms. "That's okay, Mommy, that's okay."
The other thing that Celeste mentioned is that once you give an instruction, and we use a little formula where we go, you give an instruction and you pause, and then you say you're not listening, and you pause, and then there's a consequence. When you follow those 5 simple steps, that consequence is predictable. And when a child has a predictable consequence, we like to teach parents that they get over their consequence very quickly, whether it's a consequence of timeouts or losing a privilege or some incentive, then they can get over that very quickly, because their rage turns into sadness and disappointment, but they accept their consequence, whether they're 2 or 15, they accept their consequence. But what they cannot get over is a relational consequence. And that's when what Celeste was saying with the shouting, they feel demeaned, there's no integrity, there's a bad example set, which they then think is the correct way to handle the situation when you get angry, because you're modeling that. So what they cannot get over is having to deal with a consequence and a relational consequence, which is abandoning, shouting, ignoring. What are some other examples, guys? Shouting.
Neglect.
Yes. So all those type of rage reactions that you're showing is ineffectual, and that's why we don't like to encourage it, or we like to give an alternative, because it doesn't actually work. The child then focuses on you that's angry instead of their contribution to the situation, and we want to teach them to take responsibility for their response.
So when we through on a consequence, one final thing, when we follow through on a consequence, we actually do so with a demeanor of empathy and disappointment, not in a, "well, I'll show you." It's more of a, "oh no, you didn't listen, oh, this has got to happen." So it's that that you portray.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you. I just want to say hi to Marie Lottering and to Yanni Vessels for watching. And if there are any parents out there who want to ask any questions, please just drop questions in the comments on our page. I see there are a few people watching, and it would be lovely to hear from you and to engage with you. So if you can just click share as well at the bottom of the page, and then also to let you.
Helena, they're allowed to ask a question and say that it's about their friend's child.
Okay, well, while we're at it, Angeline, I'm asking for a friend. I've got lots of asking for a friend questions. You know me so well.
For a friend, Helena, that's fine.
Thanks. You can be my friend, Andeline. It's a very good friend to have. I wanted to also just mention that we are running a Facebook competition today again, just to mention that again, and that we're going to run it until Monday at 1 p.m. and then we'll choose the winner. So I've put the details in the comment section. If you can, if you can like, comment, tag, share, that'll be great. And then I also wanted to say something else, but it's gone out of my head. That would never happen to you at all. It's gone, absolutely gone. So I do have a question here that I think would be great. And I know you're all going to fight to answer this one. With lockdown happening and the topic of school, I've seen some comments on Facebook about should I be sending my kid back to school? How are they going to cope? Are they going to have to wear masks all day? What would you say to parents who are getting themselves into a pickle about what are we going to do next with the future actually being unknown? Go for it.
Romain, do you want to speak?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know the exact saying, but I would firstly say, don't put the cart in front of the horse. Let's first wait when we get there. To stress out now and to actually get your kids stressed out and worried and fearful because of this whole thing, it's not worth it, you know. Having a peaceful atmosphere at home, and you know what, we'll see what tomorrow brings. We'll deal with that when we get there. Right now, we can just teach them good hygiene, and things start at home already. When we go for our walks now, we have our masks on and the kids are starting to get used to that. We teach them about not touching their face, about cleaning your hands, making sure of all those social distancing things. We're already practicing it at home, and if we're in the street, we talk about it. But it's casual talk. We make sure we don't put the news on hectic stuff that's really going to put fear in them, and we don't act all like, because it's really going to affect them. So yeah, I'm thinking for my family, when we get there, we'll face it. For now, we do what we can at home, equip them, speak to them openly, but also age appropriately. You don't want to instill fear. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, for us, it's like God's still in control. We're going to trust in Him for protecting us and for looking after us. We're not going to put all our trust in gloves and masks. So, yeah, that's what we are teaching our family.
Charmaine, if I can ask, how old are your kids again? I know you did mention it earlier.
They are 11 and 14, which makes it easier to wear masks and do that type of things. I mean, it's very difficult for a grade 1 to go to school and wear a mask all day. My daughter was already saying, how am I going to eat my sandwiches at break time? She's just worried about the food section. So, yes.
I also want to just add that, some parents are feeling like they can't wait for school to start. And other ones are finding that, hey, this isn't so bad. It's actually working well to work at home. Some of the kids are saying, I'm actually enjoying homeschooling or online schooling. It's not homeschooling, it's online schooling. And I just want to say that you must do what you feel is right. You don't have to feel pressurized by what anybody else is doing. What's working for you is what you must go with. If there's an option for kids to stay at home and you want your kids to carry on online schooling, well, then look into that. But don't feel guilty one way or the other that I have to send or I have to keep them home. Really don't be pressurized by peers. Do what you believe is right for your family.
That sounds great, because I know even, as not all of us are cut out to be stay-at-home parents or homeschooling parents. I think that would really push us to the limit. But then you get the beautiful people like the Timans who you see on Facebook doing these amazing things, and you think, oh, if only I was like Timan, this would be easier. But I say that, and then I look, Timan, you're expecting another baby, which is super exciting. But I remember how tired I was when I was pregnant, and you still make it look like this is awesome, this is cool. Please tell us your secret. How do you make parenting look so easy in lockdown, and you're pregnant, and you've got 2 little kids? How do you do it?
Let me just start off by saying that I pre-do all my activities. So on the days that I actually am tired and I can't, because I'm not a robot, I do get tired, and I do not do activities with them every day. And I'm not this perfect mom who, it might seem like that on the page, but I do stock up on my activities and I post them every day. But I feel like what's keeping me sane, because I've been homeschooling for just over a year now, is structure and routine and time management. It is so important. And we had a different routine before we started lockdown, obviously. And then my husband started working from home, and we had a small family meeting, and I just redid our whole schedule and routine to have him, fit into the routine, because now obviously he's here, but he's not here. And so I allocated time with the kids, with him in the morning, etc. So routine is very important. And myself and my boys, they thrive off routine. They know exactly what's happening during the day, what time it is, what happens during this time. So that is what helps me and keeps me sane and keeps our family just on the straight and narrow with regards to homeschooling and doing everything that we're supposed to do during the day. So routine and structure.
I love that. And time management. I feel that during lockdown, there've been days when the other day I woke up and I said, Ella, is today Thursday? And she said, I don't know, maybe not. And I feel like everybody's structure has just gone out the window. And if we have any hope of actually surviving in lockdown, we need to make an effort. We need to be intentional. And I know whether we're talking about relationships or marriage or parenting or whatever it is, if we are intentional about it, then we have hope. So I'm not sure if we could bounce back maybe to Celeste with the question about going to school, and how parents who are still questioning, do I send my kids back to school or not? How how should they answer that question? What's next?
Do you mind if I just first go to what you were saying before that?
Yeah.
About before the lockdown, I had a really good schedule going, and I made sure that each of my children, because they're over 4, had an hour of alone time with me once a week. For under 4.5-year-olds, they need more of a small daily top-up of 10 to 20 minutes per day alone with each parent each day. But from 4.5 and older, right up until teenage years, you can do it once a week for about 45 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on how much you're around during the week. So I was really good at that. And my kids would wake up in the morning and go, that day, that child would wake up and go, oh, mommy, today is Thursday. That means that it's going to be our special alone time today. But then when the lockdown happened, I'm around them all the time because I'm working from home. And I'm doing homeschooling with them. And so I wasn't actually being intentional about doing the one-on-one time. And I started seeing the effects in my children, and that there was just something that was off. And I evaluated things, and I realized that, yes, I'm around, but their love tanks aren't topped up because I'm not spending alone time with them. And so a quick chess game with my son, a cooking session with my girl twin, because she loves to cook with me, and made a little craft activity with my eldest, and everybody was happy again, and just in such a happy space, just like not an external happiness, but that thread of joy, you know what I mean? That just that little skip in their step, that they can be more resilient and happy with life again. And so it's important to be intentional about making sure that your children's love tanks are filled like that, but also be intentional about making sure that your love tank is filled. So at the moment, it's so easy to feel like it's too much, I want to escape, and you can't escape. And so it's so important that you actually schedule a time at least once a week, stick it in your schedule that you have some me time. And maybe that means that you go outside into the garden or the patio with an audiobook in, and you just zone out in the sun.
Bubble bath and lock the door.
Bubble bath, yes. I like to, on Tuesday nights is my me time night. So my kids are all lights out by 8. And then I usually do some sort of art activity, because that's something that makes me feel refreshed. And binge watching a series while you have wine and chocolate it doesn't count. That is numbing. That is not revitalizing, that's numbing. You got to find something that makes you feel brand new, makes you feel refreshed and just rejuvenated, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. There's only so much, and some people find that exercise is something that makes them feel rejuvenated, and thank goodness now you can actually exercise outside of the house. Other people find that more of a chore, so that then doesn't count as a revitalizing thing. But you've got to find something that can fill your love tank, so that you can be the best mother you can be, the best father that you can be, the best in your work, in your life, in your different roles in your life. And it starts with you taking care of yourself.
That's incredible advice. I think I feel like I want to go right now. Thanks, guys. That was awesome. I need to go out the door. Get some me time in.
The gratification is very important. Just wait.
You've answered all my problems. Thank you. I see we have a question here from Sharon for Mark. I need to know how. Oh, sure, go for it.
Can I just add to Celeste? What she's saying is moms need to also remember to speak up and voice what they want. I did an embarrassing thing one day also in one of my seminars, and Celeste was also there. And I asked ladies if they have spoken to their husbands and told them how they like to be treated when they've had a bad day. And so, of course, nobody had. And I said, well, guys, men don't have crystal balls. I mean, a crystal ball, so we need to speak up, and women tend to think that men just know. They should just know, but you know me. You need to have a voice. You need to spell it out. Don't think, geez, I wish he would do the dishes. He sees I do the dishes all the time.
Yeah.
Say, honey, it would really help me if you did the dishes today, because now the men are at home. And instead of building up resentment that they're not picking up these cues or the attitude or the sigh or whatever, speak up and speak up when you need some time. And then also say to them, what can I do for you? What would you like? Because remember, for them, it's also a challenging time. It's also a time where they're not, it's like their manlyhood is taken away. It's like they feel like they can't look after their families. They can't provide for them. And they're sitting at home with kids 24/7, which us as nurturers, it comes a little easier for us to do that. But for men, it's not that easy to have the kids around all the time. So they need to their own rhythm and their own routine. And I've asked men, what will it take for you to transition between being in the office, working, and stepping out and being with the family? And some men need to go and watch the news for 20 minutes. Some men need to go and have a glass of wine on the balcony. Some men need to go straight into it, or whatever they need. They need to be able to voice to you, which you're going to have to ask them to put it into words, what they need to help with the transition from work environment back into the family environment, because they're stuck at home and locked out.
Yeah, I think speaking up is so vital, especially in lockdown. Everybody's feeling a sense of frustration and cabin fever, and it's okay to just say, just to give each other time to, have me time and to just adjust. So that's awesome. We have a question here from Sharon, and I see it just bounced away. I'm glad I put it here. Sharon for Mark, I need to know how to help my son deal with anxiety. He's 9 years old and an only child. He's missing his friends. He gets tearful quite quickly if you try to discipline him. And I just want to say, Sharon, thank you for posting this question. And if there are any other parents watching, please post your questions here and we'll definitely get to them and answer them. So I'm not sure who wants to help with that one.
Anybody?
Maybe Charmaine, because she hasn't spoken for.
Go, Charmaine.
And taken over.
Anxiety in a 9-year-old, Charmaine.
Oh my goodness, it is a tough one for me because I'm very blessed. I don't have children with anxiety. I have very self-assured children, and I'm amazed in this time that they're not missing their friends as much as I thought. I really thought they'd be wanting to get out there and be on social media with their friends, and they're not. But for a 9-year-old with anxiety, yes, I think they were, like what Celeste said earlier, make sure that his little love tank is full. Make sure that they know exactly what it is that his love languages at his age, what do they need to do? What is it that they need to do to just instill some safety and security again? Maybe make some exciting plans how to communicate with those friends. Set up a little Zoom party for him. Do fun things that he feels that he's still in contact there. I think a lot of assurance that everything is still fine. It is, everything has changed, but we're still fine. And then, yes, just boundaries as well. You know, I don't know what types of discipline they use, what they're doing, but make sure that his boundaries, that he has a routine, that when he gets up in the morning, there's structure, that he knows what he's getting up for, what's the plans for the day. And yes, lots of boundaries. Make sure that he knows, not predictable boundaries. It doesn't move according to mom and dad's mood and what time they have. They're going to have to just put a little bit of extra time there. Make sure that he gets a lot of quality time or whatever it is that he would need. And yeah, that's what I think. I don't know if anyone wants to add some more. Sure, Angeline could add some more stuff there. Please.
So also what I find very helpful is it's quite common for, I don't know if he's always had problems with anxiety or if it's just started at around 9, but it seems to be quite a common thing that between 9 and 11 there's a shift that happens in the brain where it starts rewiring from the back to the front. And I found it really helpful to actually explain this to my eldest daughter when she got to that stage where I suddenly started thinking, like, what is going on with my child? She was gone from this happy-go-lucky, you know, completely chilled, relaxed, to suddenly getting anxious about things that seem a little insignificant. And I realized that that's what's happening. It's the new start of the rewiring in her brain. And explaining to her what's happening in her brain just made her feel so much more at ease, that there wasn't something wrong with her. It was normal. So what happens around that time is that you know, your brain rewires from the back to the front, and it starts from the back, which is why when you have a toddler and they're so emotional and they're over the top and they're kicking and screaming and they can't really think clearly about things, it's because they just started rewiring from the back, the part of their brain that's all about fight, flight, or fright, and over emotional and that kind of thing. And then they get to the front and then they're just like amazing, pleasant 7-8-year-olds, just, you know, just so level-headed and so rational, and you can talk about things and it's such a lovely time. And then suddenly things go haywire again because that part of the brain is starting to rewire again, and the emotions become adult size and their fight, flight, or fright reaction become adult size, but their ability to be able to think through it and reason through it and see it as this is actually not a threat, it's not such a bad thing, it's not there yet. It takes a long time to actually get there, and in the meantime it's really hard for them to deal with these hectic emotions. So explaining that to him would really help. Also, to talk him through the fact that, yes, you get different emotions, but you also get different degrees of each emotion. So you get different degrees of sadness, different degrees of anger, different degrees of anxiety. So an example that I gave to my daughter at that stage was, I said to her, now, if you think about if you're driving in a car and you see on the side of the road there's a homeless dog and he's sniffing around and he's trying to find some food, on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the highest, how sad would you feel seeing that? And she said, oh, an 8. I said, okay, all right. Now, if you watched me getting hit by a bus and killed, what degree of sadness would that be? No, that's a 10. Okay, let's go back to the dog. What level of sadness would that be? Oh, okay, no, that's more like a 2. I said, right. Now, unfortunately, what's happening at the moment, because of the rewiring in your brain, sometimes you look at a 2 situation and you have an 8 reaction. So is it okay if I help you sometimes when something is making you feel really angry, really sad, really anxious, if I come to you and go, okay, love, so this is more like a 2 situation and you're having feelings like an 8. Can we talk about this? Can we think, just to help put it in perspective. And that has really helped her to be able to stop and go, oh yeah, you're right. It's really not that bad that I have only found my one shoe and I do have other shoes to choose from. You know what I mean? So rather than going, don't shout at me, why are you being so emotional? And then just escalating things to try and make them feel like they're understood and heard, but let's try and think through this quickly. So we do have other shoes to choose from, and oh yeah, I get that you really wanted that shoe. This is more like a 2 situation. Can we bring it down a few notches and deal with it like a 2? So that might help him to be able to understand what's happening inside his brain at the moment.
Thanks, Celeste. Sharon has said here he gets sad and bad thoughts. How would you respond to Sharon?
So, okay, I'll take that one. I was thinking about my son. With his son one day, Sebastian went, because something happened. And he went up to me and said, Sebastian, did you know that sometimes you can just say, ouch?
Yeah.
It was that bad. It was, sometimes you can just say, ouch, instead of screaming.
Yeah.
Anyway, what we like to teach kids at that age, especially like Celeste says, that 8, 9, 10-year-old stage, it's a different stage. And everyone that I've spoken to, I'll ask them, what makes them angry, what makes them sad, and they'll give me a situation. And I'll say to them, like the one boy said to me, my brother makes me really angry, which is just another emotion. Just for Sharon's sake, I'm not using the sad, but it's all of this is emotion. So he says, my brother makes me very angry. So I said, what does he do? So he says he does blah, blah, blah. So I said, but did he hold a gun to your head and force you to get angry? So he goes, no, he doesn't have a gun. So I said, well, then how did he make you get angry? He said, but he did this and this and this. So I said to him, did you know that nobody can make you get angry? You choose to get angry. And every child I've said that to will look at me, some adults even, will look at me and go, oh, I didn't know that. So what we try to teach them is there is an emotion that comes up, and there's nothing wrong with that emotion. There's nothing wrong with being sad. There's nothing wrong with being angry, frustrated, whatever the emotion is. It's what we do with it. So I explained to him that it's like your temperature. It's good to have a temperature. It tells us there's something wrong. It's good. A fire is good. It can warm your hands, but a fire can be destructive if it burns down a house. So it's not the anger in and of itself that's wrong, or the sadness that's wrong. So he said to me, this one little boy said, so what do I do with that fire that comes up in me, when it comes up like that? And he showed me, he goes, it just comes up like that when he makes me angry. And so we discussed what he could do with that anger instead of just shelving it or saying, don't feel angry, don't feel sad, don't feel depressed. Is we want to replace that emotion, that response with a different response. So first we acknowledge the response. Celeste made a beautiful poster of emotions to help them choose what emotion they are experiencing. Because the closer you can identify that emotion, the closest word you can get to it, the easier it is to describe. So instead of just saying angry, it could have been worried, confused, disappointed, jealous. And if they can identify that, then we can deal with that emotion. So sadness, what is it? Is it jealous? Is it worried? Is it tired? There's different things that come up with the word sad, okay? So first of all, we want to identify what is that word. We want to empathize. But then we need to teach them to have different responses to that emotion. So what I like to teach them is if you're going on a highway and you're driving on that highway and you're heading towards a specific destination, and I'll draw it on a piece of paper for them, and maybe this will be helpful for Sharon to do with him, is to draw like a highway, and it goes towards what's a fun place for you guys, the boardwalk or something, boardwalk or beach or whatever. So yeah. if you're going along the main road, then there's things called exits that take you off of that road. And if you choose to go on an exit, you don't get to your boardwalk or your beach that you're heading because you've chosen to go off on an exit. So if we do a second drawing and we say, now here's the wiggly road of your sadness. And when you're going on that wiggly road of sadness, you hit depression, you hit a real sadness that you don't know what to do with, and you act out in a way that spirals you down into feeling even worse. But if you choose an exit, then it won't get you to that point. You choose an exit and the exit will take you in a different direction. And then we discuss with them the different exits that they can take. For instance, they will tell us then what those exits are. Like they enjoy reading a book, or they enjoy listening to music, or they enjoy climbing in a dark cupboard with a flashlight and looking at something, or in a tent, or some little womb space that they call their own that they can go to when they're feeling like that. That way they can feel the bubbling up of that emotion. And then at that point, they can either say to themselves, or mom can say to them, I think you need to go choose an exit. Mm-hmm. And once they've made a list of all the exits that help them to feel better, breathing is the top one. Just breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, intentionally concentrating, meditating on calming down, and do 3 to 5 deep breaths will really help a lot. Deep in slowly through your mouth and slowly out through your nose and out through your mouth really helps. Now, often we use this also when kids are scared, and that's a typical thing from 4-year-old. They start with, I'm scared. Another emotion that is typical, but we can't just brush it off and we can't indulge it. We have to help them to become brave. So you say, how do we get that image out of his head of the things that make him sad? So also what I like to explain to them is when you have an image in your brain, nobody else can see it. Nobody else has got control over it. It's inside your head with your eyes of your understanding. The Bible says, help me to open the eyes of my understanding. That's inside. It's not these eyes. It's your eyes of understanding. And our brain remembers images. So children are seeing images in their head, which are either scary or sad or makes them angry. Now, what they need to do is replace one image with another image. And once they've done that, they forget about that image. So it's an exercise of the mind to take that image, because kids think, there's the image, there's the thing making me sad, I can do nothing with it, I've got no control over it. But they do. But they have to exercise that control. They've got to decide to think of something else that would make them feel better to replace that emotion. We don't want to discount or discredit the emotion. We want to acknowledge it. But what I'm saying is giving them a tool to replace it with something else.
Yeah. And Delete, sorry, carry on.
So specific to anxiety as an emotion, if he's specifically worried about, it's not just general anxiety, but specifically about COVID and the things related to COVID. A tool that psychologists use that is very, very helpful is for him to actually sit down with a piece of paper and have a little quiet space for him to write down in point form, point for point, every single one of the things that he is afraid of, things that is floating around in his head that he's unsure of, that he's scared of, that he's anxious about, in point form, the whole thing. And then take that piece of paper, fold it up, stick it in an envelope and put it away. Whether you throw it in the fireplace or you put it in the back of your cupboard or you put it in a drawer, doesn't matter. But when you've done a point for point, put it all on paper, somehow it just feels more tangible, even though a lot of it is actually going to be irrational. It doesn't have to be rational or irrational, and nobody ever has to read it. It's just putting it on paper. Somehow it's like when you've got a million things to do and you just feel so anxious, and then you put it down and you make a to-do list, something that you can tick off. You somehow feel less anxious. But it's the same sort of thing. He's thinking, are my friends going to get sick? Am I ever going to go to school again? Am I going to, forget everything or fail this year? Because all of those things, if he can just write them all down in point form on that piece of paper, fold it up, put it away, and then take on the next tool of whatever is lovely and pure, whatever is hopeful, whatever is true, anything excellent and worthy of praise. Think of all these things. Put something positive in his brain from there. But first, express it. Put it all on piece of paper. The stuff that's overwhelming for him right now.
I absolutely love that advice, Celeste. Thank you so much. I see Flo Vernon here has said very sensible advice for children and adults. I have to agree with you there. And I see Pastor Mariana is watching on YouTube and she's loving this session and that it's very relevant. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's watching, and that you can continue to post questions in the comments. I do have someone who has sent me a WhatsApp who's asking for a friend, so no names mentioned, and I promise you I'm not the friend.
Sure.
Asking for a friend. No, seriously. Advice regarding a 45-year-old who becomes clingy and anxious if parents are not in the same room. This behavior was...
45-year-old.
Not 45, 425. 4.5-year-old, 45-year-old. This behavior was present prior to lockdown and does not occur at school or other social settings. So the child is anxious if both the parents aren't together in the same room. Okay, go for it.
Samantha, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So I think firstly, for that little love tank, when you do one-on-one time with mom, one-on-one time with dad, for the love tank, and also then focus on them being brave when mom and dad aren't in the room, and encourage them in that way, rather than focusing on the fact that they might be anxious when mom and dad aren't together. So when they are in the room by themselves, you can go, oh, you've been so brave, and encourage them, rather than focusing on the anxiety of the issue, and help them build them up with encouragement in that regard. But definitely the one-on-one, the filling of the love tank is very important, so that they always feel loved. And I think when parents see mom and dad in love and hugging and just also, showing affection towards each other, they also feel more safe, So yeah, that's what I would say.
Can I jump in there? Sometimes it is purely just a manipulation tool. It is just being a bossy boots, controlling everybody, and mommy must stay here, daddy must stay here. No, daddy gets to brush my teeth, not mommy. No, mommy must read the book. No, mommy must read the book. And it's really very often, I haven't seen this child, but more often than not, about control. And so in that case, not only must the love tank be filled and that child must get alone time with each parent every day, but also clear, consistent, predictable boundaries, no nonsense, and then create an incentive tool specifically for bravery.
Yeah, that's what I would say. And of course, Helena, as you know, we do give the individual help for the parents. All of the coaches are there to help moms like this to have a one-on-one with us on Zoom, and we can help them with a specific issue, age-related, temperament-related for their household. That's what we specialize in.
Thank you, Angeline. I see Ninakazi says, yeah, thank you so much for this session. Delphine is watching this, Ekarat is watching the service, and Bokang says she's revived as a mom. Thank you so much.
Sweet. Yes.
Like we did something good this morning.
I just want to add to Celeste's comment that with that mommy, that this often, I totally agree with Taman and Celeste, that is something that you acknowledge their feelings and show positive stuff, but also you need to put the boundaries down, and you need to have that, because a child doesn't feel secure when they're always getting their way. It brings up insecurity, and usually the parents are hopping to keep them happy and hopping to, well, he wants this, he wants that, but he wants to, but he wants. And we really believe in giving them what they need and not what they want. Yeah. And what they need is boundaries, and what they need is security. But parents go from a point of feeling guilty or tired or trying to keep the peace or whatever, and will respond from that emotion instead of one of, I said, no, daddy's going to put you to bed tonight. Because often all of us have had situations with kids that go through stages of, no, only mommy can do this, or daddy's flavor of the month and mommy's not allowed to do it. And that breaks down the relationship with the other parent. And we don't allow that. We don't believe that that's healthy at all. And it's not because the child wants it, it's because the child's actually asking for a boundary. It's pushing against the boundaries because it's saying, well, you're not putting a boundary down, so let's push it some more, and that boundary keeps shifting. And what gives a child security is to have a boundary set in place. No anger involved, as we said before, speaking once, as we said before, but then a predictable boundary with, you're not listening, and then there's a consequence. And then a brave jar, like we were saying, an incentive chart on bravery.
One of the things I've always loved about Munchkins is that you give parents permission to parent, and very often we feel helpless and like our hands are tied and that we don't have options. And I must say, I'm really loving your Munchkins community, your village that you started on Facebook, and I think it's such a great place for parents to not feel alone, that there are options. They can voice those options to people who get it. You know, Charmaine's got a children similar age to mine, or Tim Ann's kids are similar age to mine. These parenting experts that I'm speaking to, they know what we're going through from a lived experience, and that really does helps a lot to get through what we find as hard times. And I really think that this session is going to be such a resource and tool to parents, who they can go back and listen to your answers, listen to how we can apply this to our lives. And I want to say thank you so much. And I want to just remind everybody who's watching that you can comment, that you can, we will follow this thread, and if there are any comments that come up, we'll follow it through to Munchkins to respond, and that you're not alone during lockdown. There are people out there who can help, and you can stand a chance to win a Zoom session with any one of the Munchkins coaches, which could really make an impact in your home. So feel free to contact us. And Delphine says, yeah, so true, love this teaching as a grandma. So there's a granny also watching.
Granny. My 12th grandchild is coming this year.
That is super. Your 12th grandchild.
Yes.
Super exciting. And before we end off, I just want to ask, perhaps each of you, has there been a special memory during lockdown that has really been special for your family? Something that was intentional? I don't know, maybe you baked a cake, maybe you did something. Has there been something special? Angeline, even with your grandkids, I don't know, is there anything that would be inspiring for somebody to go and do? Has there been a special memory?
The thing is, what I have found is that I've had more time, number one, to spend with God. I've just had such awesome time with God. And in lockdown, you also have more time to phone friends. reconnecting with my friends. And I had a session with Celeste's kids in the driveway. We got to speak in the driveway, dropping something off. So, it's a unique time, but you've got to use this time wisely, to connect. So I've actually, it's been great for me. I love it. I'm loving it. Sorry, but I have to travel so much, so it's also good. Yes,
I can give an example. So my eldest daughter is always coming up with these lovely ideas, and she made a letter for my husband and I, saying that we are invited to a disco in our lounge at 7:30, so half an hour before bedtime, 7:30 till 8, and that night. So what we did was we made sure that they were all in their jammies and they were ready, and at 7:30 I made ice cream sundaes, and we had ice cream sundaes, and we had the lights switched off, and then my daughter, my girl twin, has got this little light that puts stars in different colors on the ceiling that she found at some, I don't know, market somewhere. And so we had that on, and we were dancing around the lounge together, and it was just such a special time, all of us just dancing to the music and the lights and the ice cream sundae, and I think that's something that they will always remember.
And they choreographed a dance for me as well. It was so sweet. I love it.
Oh, my girls. Yeah. Demand.
Sure. So being a stay-at-home homeschooling mom, regardless of the lockdown, for me, we've really been intentional. So I don't have more time or less time. They're still with me all the time. So it's pretty much the same for us. But we've been really intentional with regards to family time. And I feel like this time is also for people that might not homeschool and have children at school. It's such an amazing time to be able to build into the foundation of our children, to go back, and just instill your values and morals as a family, or just, refresh your course for the older children, just to remind them that this is who we are, and to constantly be with them all the time helps with that, just maintaining and building into their foundation in this time has been amazing. And such a privilege, actually. Wow, I'm sure all of us have wished for a 6-week holiday with our family together, and here we've had it. We've been together all the time, and it's actually just a blessing. You can choose to see it otherwise, but we choose to see it as a blessing that we are able to be together as a family and be healthy and just pour into our children more in this time.
Yes, I can't just think of one thing. It's been an amazing time. Like Andeline, we've just been loving it. I love the fact that there's no rush. We just so more chilled. We get time. We've been given this gift of time. We've taught our kids more about quiet time. We've taught our kids about, I've had such awesome times cooking with them. I'm amazed what they can do in the kitchen now. My daughter's learned to sew. She's making her own Barbie clothes. Who would have figured? My son is helping in the garden, and they're doing all these things, loving it. And it's not a chore. It's not a mission. We get time to recalibrate, to reconnect, to talk, to actually get to know each other and get to know each other's hearts again, to actually sit and talk about feelings and how things made us feel. And when you said that and when you did that, which we never get time for, because in the rush of going past each other like that, offenses are picked up and things happen and we never get time to fix it. And I really see this as a time of just blessing and just making the most of it. And there's things that I'll carry in my heart forever that I don't think in my lifetime I'll get 7 weeks just with my children and my husband again. So yeah, make it count.
Can I just add something quickly? Is all of us have said now how wonderful it's been. But I just want to tell all the moms and dads out there that we've all had times of dipping and of roller coaster emotions and pulling hair out. We've just highlighted the fun parts, but we've all had tearful time, down in the dumps, pick ourselves up again. It's not just the Facebook faces, okay?
Don't feel.
Yes.
what Andeline was speaking about earlier about teaching our kids to take an exit, we need to model that as well. So in my family, we call it take a moment. And the rule is if somebody says, I need to take a moment, nobody is allowed to follow that person. They are doing something very healthy and they are saving you from the brunt end. So you're not allowed to follow somebody that's taking a moment. And sometimes, you know, my husband has found me sitting in a room where I know that child's playing outside and just sitting there with my earphones in listening to an audiobook. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm taking a moment. And he'll go, I'm going to close the door for you. And he'll close the door. And even, I mean, the kids will, if the day's been a little bit overwhelming for me and I've put my head down in my hands like that, and one of my kids go, Mom, what's up? If I go, I'm taking a moment, they'll go, okay. And they'll scooch the other two kids out of the room and make sure that I get some space. So introduce that into your family so that everybody has the permission to take a moment, including you.
Yes.
It's okay. It's good.
And I also just want to say, you can't help your child with maths and have a good day. It's one or the other.
Can I just add, I think in this season as well, moms, just have grace for yourself because, you know, you don't have to do the washing every day and you don't have to mop the floors every day and you don't need to have, you know, dinner cooked by 5 p.m. sharp. You know, just have grace for yourself in this season because it's something new for you too. So don't be so hard on yourselves, you know. Embrace what you have, do what you can do, and the washing can wait until tomorrow.
Delegate.
Yeah, let the children do the washing.
Absolutely. Teach them new skills.
I have never had so much chipped mugs and plates in my life, but hey.
Oh. If you go onto our Munchkins Facebook page, you'll see a little video clip I put on there on how to get your children motivated to want to do housework. My kids are mopping and vacuuming and putting washing in and hanging washing up without me asking. And I never thought that they would actually have the skills to do it, but they do. They can actually hang clothes up on the washing without peg marks like on the chest. They can do it properly. Who knew?
That's impressive.
Have we got more time to show the video or do we need to leave?
Yeah, I was thinking that would be a great idea to show. If we can show that, yeah, go for it.
So the video is what we stand for in Munchkins is enjoying our kids, but we can't enjoy our kids if we don't discipline them at home. Then we can't discipline them expect them to behave in public. So parenting happens in your presence and the results show in your absence. So this is what one of the things that is depicted in the video is how Celeste trained the children at home, disciplined them with love, so that when she's outside the home, it's safe to take them out for their safety and for your sanity. So it's when the twins were 20 months old and 4 years old.
Yeah, okay, pack it away. Good listening. Ethan, pack it away. Good listening. Yeah, over here. Twice. Ta. And Ethan. Pack it away. Good listening. Ta. Okay. We're going to go and pay over there. Ethan, look over there. We're going to go pay up there. Okay? And stop. Wait. Go. Run. Good job, guys. Okay, Nikita, run. Run. And stop. Wait. Go. Run. Yay! Good. Ethan, and stop. Yay! Go. And stop. Wait. Good waiting. Ready, set, go. Woohoo! And stop. Good listening.
There we go. So that's an example of how we begin with the end in mind. What do we want it to look like at different ages? Obedience at different ages, it means something different. And so do the consequences at different ages.
My twins were 20 months there, but they were nearly 3 months prem. So they were technically about 17 months old.
Oh. We actually used that this morning when we went on our walk. Landon was on his bicycle, obviously way faster than his pregnant waddling mother. And Arden preferred to walk. So he was walking on the sidewalk, running, and then walking and kicking the leaves. And Landon was riding his bike, and I could do exactly that. And people were like, what is this? So it's possible with every child. And it helps so much rather than having to run after children, because I cannot run right now. So if you say stop and wait, they stop and wait and step on, right onto the curb and stand and wait until you get there. So it's amazing.
When my twins were 2, we were at the park, and I had my 3 kids and my dog, and we had walked there, and they were all busy playing. And I turned to say something to a friend, and this friend went, she couldn't even speak. She was just panicking. And I looked, and I saw my girl twin Nikita was running towards the road because there's a cat on the other side, and there was a car coming. And now, if I had gone, no, she'd probably run faster at that pace. So because I'd already taught her these skills, I said, Nikita, and stop. And she stopped, and she turned, she looked at me with this big smile on her face, like, I love this game. And I said, run to mommy. And she ran to me. And what could have been an absolute, she could have been killed, been hit by the car. It could have been really, really bad. Turned into a really fun game for her. And she ran back to me, and I scooped her up, and yay, good listening on the inside. And then I said, you wanted to see the cat, didn't you? But we only crossed the road with mommy. Let's go together. And then we went together. So yeah, it's very important to get those boundaries put in, get them well established at home, which is what we can help you with our Munchkin sessions, so that when you're out and about, you can really have fun without worrying.
Also, a lot of questions have come up about schooling, about parents needing help with schooling their children. And what I want to encourage moms is that they're not teachers. The kids have got online teachers. They have to observe, and they have to facilitate, but you're not actually the teacher. And depending on the age now, of course, it differs, that you've got to have more involvement the younger they are. But I just want to encourage moms not to feel like they have to take on the role of a teacher. So especially when they're older, you can allocate, as long as you've allocated a space and a time for them to do their, routine for them to do their homework, step out. Let them take the instructions from the online schooling, and set a time where you can say, in 20 minutes, I'm going to come back and I'm going to ask you if you need any help, especially if you've got more than one child that you're trying to do online schooling with. I've often had parents say to me, then this one shouts for me, then that one shouts for me, and that one shouts for me, and I want to pull my hair out. And then this one just wants to know how to spell this word, that type of thing. So what I encourage parents to do is to say, set them up, the different ages, separate them as much as possible so they don't distract each other, and then say, you can set your timer in 20 minutes, I'll be back, or however long you think they need for that lesson, and then go back and help them. So they've got to put things aside that they need help with. If they're struggling with that sum, then they must go on with the others, and they must leave that sum for when you come back. When you come back after that 20 minutes and you say, do you need my help? And they say no, then back off and walk away. Let them suffer the consequences of not asking for help when they actually need it. But again, that comes down to discipline, because you've got to be able to say to them, stay there and do your work. Don't come out of your room until I come back to help you. So, parents are asking, but what do we do with these kids that keep on wanting the last say, want to do it their own way? You're not the teacher. Back off as much as possible. And often they've got facility where they can phone a teacher to ask questions, contact the teacher either by WhatsApp or online. Let them do it. I've had parents say to me, but my child doesn't want to speak to the teacher. Well, then he doesn't get an answer, does he? Because you're not the teacher. So I would suggest that you just remember your position. You're a facilitator. You're not a teacher. Teach them to take responsibility and follow the instructions.
Yeah. There's also a concept that I've been finding really helpful with my kids called the 25 and 5. And that is, there's a book called the 25 and 5. Basically, there's a bunch of researchers that decided that they're going to figure out what is the perfect balance between work time versus break time to be able to get the most productivity. And what they found was that it's 25 minutes of solid, hardcore work, followed by 5-minute break. And so with my kids, I actually set the timer. Okay, everybody ready, everybody in place, you know what you got to do. Okay, 25 minutes, go. And then they work solidly for 25 minutes and work really hard, knowing that it's a concrete amount of time before they get a break, rather than going, how much longer? How much more do I have to do? They know exactly it's 25 minutes, got to put everything into it. And I set the first 25 minutes, but they do the rest. After the 25 minutes, the beeper goes off, then they go and set it for 5, and everybody scatters and goes and plays where they want to play. And when that 5-minute alarm goes off, they come back again, reset it for 25 minutes. Everybody ready? Okay, go. And then they sit and carry on working. So, and that's my 7-year-old twins that are able to manage their own time like that really well. So, and that the productivity level is so much better when I use that. And there has been times that I've forgotten to use it, that I can just see it. It's just not as effective when I don't. So that, yeah, that's a good thing.
Another thing you've got to remember, at school, they've got consequences. They've got systems in place where kids are being incentivized, or groups are being incentivized. Use it. Use incentives at home. Don't be scared to use incentives. You can have good listening, good concentration, incentivizing them to be listening, which is what we also do on our personal sessions to help you figure that out.
And if your child is really analytical, Andeline, does the same incentives work? Is there anything different you do for an analytical child?
No, an analytical child just wants more detail.
Okay.
You give him time, but you don't spend all your time Because sometimes and kids will just ask again and again, and why and why and why and why, and you just get deeper into the whys when actually they're just wasting time. So you've got to be discerning about that. Is it really that they need the answer behind it, or is it because they're just procrastinating or, you know, putting off? So don't be scared to say, you know what, I gave you an answer for that, and don't ask me again, or we're done talking about that, and move on.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I feel like I want to go and have a moment. I've taken so much from today's session, but the one I'm going to hold on to the most is taking a moment for me time. I feel like we need a sign. I know that we have this for like, just wait, I'm talking. We need a me moment sign, like, oh.
I just say, take a moment. Just say it. Because you need them to be able to say it too. Just say, look, I need to go take a moment and leave.
Yeah.
Do it.
And set the timer. You can set the timer and say, don't come and don't talk to me until the timer goes off.
Perfect. Love that. So we will post, I've posted the link to your pages, and I really hope that parents do log on and tap into the resources that Munchkins offer. And I just want to say, on behalf of parents everywhere, thank you for having a vision to empower parents. This has been a great time. So for those of you who are going to be on the Word of Faith page at 1 o'clock, I think there will be worship. So just have a look out, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye.
Bye-bye.